Good morning, learners. Our subject for this morning is English 5 for Quarter 3, Week 2. And our topic is text types, specifically enumeration and time order. And at the end of the lesson, you are expected to distinguish text types according to purpose and features, enumeration and time order. Let us have a recap. In our previous lesson about text types, you have learned to distinguish classification and explanation. This time, you will learn to distinguish the two remaining text types, which are enumeration and time order. Now, what are texts? Texts are written for a variety of purposes using different forms and standards of composition. These forms of writing are known as text types. The phrase text type is a way of classifying and defining different types of language interaction, both spoken and written. It refers to the purpose of a text and the way it is written, like enumeration and time order. Now, what is enumeration? An enumeration paragraph or text lists the kinds, character, classes, types, pathways, and group of a thing or subject. Transition or signal words used to show enumeration are the following, in many ways, such as first or one, second, or next, and so on. Let us have 10 examples of enumeration text type. The Earth's surface is constantly changing through slow processes that we don't usually see. One is erosion. This has worn away rocks and mountains over millions of years, caused by air, water, and wind. Another change is caused by earthquakes that originate deep inside the planet, more sudden and violent than erosion. An earthquake results when strains between earth plates produce shock waves. And the third process results when molten rock forming material called lava escapes onto the surface through gaps on the crust. What we experience is volcanic eruption. Enumeration in this paragraph, the processes of how is the surface of the earth has changed were listed or enumerated with a brief description. It also uses signal words. Now let us discuss time order. Time order is a process or how the two text gives explanations or directions. Each sentence tells the next step in carrying out a process or in getting from one place to another. Transitional words that may be used to show order of steps include first, second, third, then, before, after, during, meanwhile, etc. And this is an example of text type. Time order. How to purify cloudy water. Boiling is perhaps the safest way to purify cloudy water. You will need a boiling pot, fire, salt, a coffee filter or cloth, charcoal, and cotton. First, pre-filter the cloudy water with a cotton filter or folded cloth. Then, boil the filtered water. Add a small amount of salt to improve the taste of the water as it is boiling. If you are about 2,000 feet altitude, boil for 3 minutes. Next, let the water cool. Meanwhile, make a cotton and charcoal filter by crushing the charcoal and putting it in a cotton as a trap. This will remove impurities and steal some bad taste from the boiled water. Finally, filter the boiled water through the cotton trap. In this paragraph, the steps in purifying cloudy water are listed in order so that the reader can easily follow the procedure or the steps. It has also signal words to give clue on what will be the next step. Now, for learning task 1, letter A, for your first activity, read the text below and answer the following questions. Do this in your notebook. And I will read the text. The Hertzsprung-Russell diagram shows the three very different types of stars. The first type is called the main sequence, which includes the Sun. These stars are fueled by nuclear fusion, converting hydrogen into helium. The hotter they are, the brighter they become. They last for about 5 billion years. The second type includes the supergiant. As they reach old age, they deplete their hydrogen supply. Their core contracts as their outer layer expands. Eventually, they will explode, becoming a nebula or supernova. Then white dwarfs, neutron stars or black holes. Third, smaller stars consequently become white dwarfs, shrinking and depleting their nuclear fuels, finally becoming cold, dark, black dwarfs. Question: what is the paragraph about? Answer: the paragraph is all about the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. Number 2 question: what things are enumerated to show the different types of stars? Answer: the things enumerated to show the different types of stars, like Sun, supergiant, and small stars, consequently become white dwarfs. Third question: what words or phrase signal the enumeration or listing? Answer: the words that signal the enumeration are first, second, eventually, third, and finally. Now, for learning task 1, letter B, go back to the selection above and complete the graphic organizer below. So we have the general subject and 3 types. Okay, let us check your answer. For the general subject, we have different types of stars. And what are those? The main sequence, the supergiant, and the smaller stars. And for learning task 2, directions, read the text, then complete the organizer that followed. Do this in your notebook. And here is the text. I will read it to you. As a grade 5 pupil, Emmanuel was already self-motivated and self-directed in many ways. He would assist his mother in some household chores and some errands. One day, when there would be no classes, he would go with his father in the farm and would pasture the carabao to the fields. On weekdays, he would burn the midnight oil working on his assignments and studying his lessons. And here is the table or the organizer. We have the general subject, and then we have 3 ways, and then the transitional or signal words. Okay, so let us check your work. So here are the answers. So the general subject is Emmanuel, and the ways we have assist his mother in some household chores and some errands. And then go with his father in the farm and would pasture the carabao to the fields. And the last one, burned the midnight oil working on his assignments and studying his lesson. And we have the transitional or the signal words in many ways. For learning task 3, so we have the directions. Read the text below and answer the following questions. Do this in your notebook. The title of the text is How to Mold a Sculpture. First, clean the clay by getting rid of the bits of sand and dirt from it. Then add or remove water from the clay if necessary. If the clay is too wet, it will not hold the shape. And if it is too dry, it will not be flexible enough to mold. Next, begin to shape the clay into something with your bare hands or with tools. Roll and push clay into shapes or pull off and stick back on different places. After the clay has been molded, put it into a kind of oven to be fired. Then build a fire. As the fire slowly gets hotter and hotter, water is baked out of the clay. Sooner or later, the clay dries up and becomes hard with a new shape. Remove it from the oven and let it cool. Afterwards, you may paint it or put some designs of your choice on it. Now, for the questions for learning task 3. Number 1, what is the text about? Answer. The text is about how to mold the clay and create a sculpture. Number 2, how many steps in the process are given? Answer. There are 8 steps in the process given. Number 3, what are those steps? A. First, clean the clay by getting rid of the bits of sand and dirt from it. B. Then add or remove water from the clay if necessary. C. Next, begin to shape the clay into something with your bare hands or with tools. D. Roll and push clay into shapes or pull off and stick back on the clay at different places. Letter E. After the clay has been molded, put it into a kind of oven or to be fired, then build a fire. And F. Then as the clay dries up and becomes hard with a new shape, then G. Remove it from the oven and let it cool. And letter H. Afterwards, you may paint it, or put some designs of your choice on it. For number 4, what words are used to introduce the steps? Answers. The words used to introduce the steps are first, then, next, after, and afterwards. Fifth question. What type of text is the example above? Answer. The type of text is time order. Let us move on to learning task 4. Directions. Read the text below, write numbers to order the sentences correctly, and do this in your notebook. One afternoon, after classes, Emmanuel's class advisor gave him an envelope for his parents. He immediately went home and handed the envelope to his mother. Hurriedly, his mother opened and then read the letter informing them on Emmanuel's chance to enjoy a scholarship next year in one of the prestigious schools in their town. At last, the fruits of a long, arduous labor since you were young are now being harvested. Now you are recognized and awarded this scholarship, his mother announced with joy. For learning task 4, here is the table. So we have, he immediately went home and handed the envelope to his mother. At last, the fruits of a long, arduous labor since you were young are now being harvested. Now you are recognized and awarded this scholarship, his mother announced with joy. Hurriedly, his mother opens the letter. Emmanuel's class advisor gave him an envelope for his parents. She read the letter informing them on Emmanuel's chance to enjoy a scholarship next school year in one of the prestigious schools in their town. So here are the answers. So for the first sentence, that is number 2. For the second sentence, the answer is 5. For the third sentence, the answer is 3. And for the fourth sentence, the answer is 1. And for the last sentence, the answer is 4. Now, for learning task 5, directions. Read the text and enumerate your answers. Do this in your notebook. Whole year-round typhoons occur. It is always good to prepare for the coming of any typhoon as predicted. First and foremost, inspect your house if necessary. Repair or fixing is needed. With this, cleaning up the house drainage system is a must to avoid clogging up. Next, store an adequate supply of food and water. Good for a few days, everything in the house should be put in elevated position, especially those items that generate electricity. Water should not penetrate them in case flood water rushes into your house. Lastly, always keep flashlights, candles, batteries, and first aid supplies. Let us now enumerate the things that we need to do or prepare for the coming of typhoon. So based on the text that we have read, so the first one is inspect your house if necessary, repair or fixing is needed. So for the second one, we have cleaning up the house drainage system is a must to avoid clogging up. And for the third one, we have store an adequate supply of food and water good for a few days. Number 4, everything in the house should be put in an elevated position, especially those items that generate electricity. And for the last one, always keep flashlights, candles, batteries, and first aid supplies. So those are the answers for learning task 5. Now, for the assessment, directions. Read the following paragraphs. Distinguish and write the type of text for each. So for letter A, enumeration text type. And then for letter B, time order text type. So here is the first paragraph. Here is a fast and easy recipe for a special mashed sweet potato treat that serves 2 people. You begin with peeling 2 large potatoes and cooking them in a pot of boiling water. When a fork or knife inserted into them falls out easily, you will know they are done. Then, take them from the pot and drain them well. Next, place them in a large mixing bowl and add 2 tablespoons of butter. Mash with the potato masher until the lumps are gone. Meanwhile, in a skillet, melt a tablespoon of butter and add a bunch of chopped green onions. Cook them for about 1 minute and mix them with the mash. Then add more butter if desired. Serve and eat. Now, what kind of text type is this? Okay, so the answer is time order text type, letter B. Let us move on to number 2. Digestive process begins when food enters the mouth. After the mouth chews and swallows the food, it goes to the throat and then travels to the esophagus or swallowing tube. Next, the esophagus, through a series of contractions called peristalsis, delivers the food to the stomach, which acts as the storage tank. The stomach contains hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes, which, when mixed with the food begins to break down into smaller molecules. Then the food enters the small intestine, where in 90% of the food nutrients have been extracted here and absorbed by the body. The remaining goes to the large intestine as waste product. Finally, this waste product is excreted from the body as a solid matter called stool. So what do you think is the text type? Letter B, time order text type. And for number 3, the atmosphere is composed of different levels. The first level, called troposphere, is the nearest to Earth, about 11 kilometers thick. Most clouds and weather are found in this layer. Next is the stratosphere, which is about 11 to 48 kilometers above the Earth's surface. In it is the ozone layer, which absorbs most of the harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The mesosphere is above the stratosphere, in which the atmosphere is very rarefied, and the temperature decreases with the altitude. The fourth layer is the thermosphere, which starts about 55 kilometers. The temperature is so hot that it cannot be measured by a thermometer, and temperatures may be thousands of degrees high. The second to the last is the exosphere, the region beyond the thermosphere. Finally, the ionosphere overlaps the other layers from above the Earth. The air ionized by the sun's ultraviolet rays. These ionized layers affect the transmittance and reflectance of radio waves. All in all, there are 6 levels of the Earth's atmosphere. And what kind of text type is this? Okay, so the answer is enumeration text type. Further reflection, in your notebook, write your personal insights about the lesson using the prompts below. I understand that blank. I realize that blank. I need to learn more about blank. So that concludes our lesson for this morning. So thank you very much. And God bless everyone.